Thank you, President Trump. The president mentioned that you had to deal with all the slings and arrows during your time at Doge. There's this.
Well, some of the people, some of the media organizations in this room are the slingers.
Well, so there is a New York Times report today that accuses you of blurring the line between.
Is the New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate? Is it the same organization?
I got to check my Pulitzer.
I think
counter.
it is.
It is.
I think the judge just ruled against the New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times. Let's move on.
Okay. Next question. I got one for.
I think we might have hit a sore spot with Elon Musk. Here he is completely melting down in the Oval Office when Fox News' Peter Doocy tried to ask him about a New York Times report detailing his alleged drug use in his time on the Trump campaign. And watching Musk frantically deflect may offer some insight into the accuracy of this story. The Times detailed Musk's consumption of ketamine that, quote, went well beyond occasional uses and his alleged use of ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms. According to the report, which cited private messages and interviews with more than a dozen people who know him, he was taking so much ketamine that it was affecting his bladder, a known side effect of chronic ketamine abuse. Musk traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. Quote, Mr. Musk has been using ketamine often, sometimes daily, and mixing it with other drugs, according to people familiar with his consumption. The line between medical use and recreation was blurry, troubling some people close to him. And this isn't the first glimpse into Musk's reported drug use, having previously acknowledged using ketamine, but he's consistently downplayed it. In a March 2024 interview with Don Lemon, Musk said he only took a small amount of ketamine about once every 2 weeks as prescribed for depression. He said, quote, if you use too much ketamine, you can't really get work done, and I have a lot of work.
You've admitted that you have a ketamine subscription. Prescription, excuse me.
Yeah.
You do?
Yes.
What's that for?
Well, I mean, it's pretty private to ask somebody about a medical prescription,
Yeah.
I think it's something I'd say, like, there are times when I have I don't know, like a negative chemical state in my brain, like depression, I guess, or like depression that's not linked to any negative news, and then ketamine is helpful for getting one out of a negative frame of mind.
Yeah. Well, listen.
So in fact, I generally, obviously I'm not a doctor, but I would say if someone has depression issues, they should consider talking to their doctor about ketamine instead of SSRIs.
Listen, I think that ketamine and drug therapy is increasingly becoming more in the mainstream.
Yeah.
So, but you have admitted you have a ketamine prescription. That's why I asked you about it. I don't want to get into something personally or whatever.
Yeah.
So, do you think you're doing it under a doctor's care, right?
Yeah. Literally a prescription from an actual, a real doctor, not like,
Yeah, but do you feel like you ever abuse it?
I don't think so.
But according to the Times investigation, that was apparently not too honest. They found that he, quote, developed a far more serious habit, and people familiar with his drug use said that he was taking it often, sometimes daily, and mixing it with other drugs. So when Musk told Don Lemon that he was only taking a small amount every 2 weeks for medical reasons, it seems that he wasn't telling the truth. But when he said that you can't get work done if you use too much ketamine, that may have been him being honest. Granted, alleged drug use can have major implications as it relates to government contracts. Elon, of course, owns SpaceX, which has massive contracts with the US government and handles classified information. And he was also running DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, with access to sensitive government operations as well. According to the Times, Musk was even alerted in advance when random drug testing was scheduled at his company, SpaceX. Think about that for a minute. The CEO of a major government contractor was allegedly getting advance warning about drug tests so that he could avoid getting caught, which is a story worth telling. But instead of addressing these serious concerns and these allegations, Musk's strategy was to attack the messenger here. His entire response in the Oval Office was to discredit the New York Times by immediately bringing up their Pulitzer Prize for Russia coverage. And that is right out of the Trump playbook. When faced with damaging reporting, just attack the source. Scream fake news as loud as you can, and then hope that people forget the actual allegations here. But notice what Musk didn't do. He didn't deny the reporting. He didn't say, this is false or I wasn't using drugs. He just attacked the Times and demanded that Peter Doocy move on, which, of course, the Fox News reporter did. But look, to be perfectly honest here, I don't give a shit what drugs Elon Musk does. My beef with Elon isn't with his ketamine use. Dude can do whatever he wants as far as I care. It is with the fact that he used his position of power within the government to destroy the lives of so many people while raking in rewards for himself. This guy pretended that he was working in pursuit of rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse to the tune of $2 trillion. And yet, what did he actually do with all that power? He attacked USAID, which accounts for all of 0.5% of the budget, responsible for making sure that impoverished folks around the globe get food and water and other services like HIV prevention. But USAID was investigating Starlink, and so it was gutted. He went after the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which exists only to protect consumers from predatory financial institutions, and returned $21 billion to those who'd been defrauded. But the CFPB would have had oversight into X's payment processor, and so it was gutted. In fact, every single agency that Elon went after just so happened to be doing oversight into him or SpaceX or Starlink or Tesla, and all of those agencies were gutted. But you know what wasn't impacted during Elon's crusade against waste, fraud, and abuse? The one department that's failed 7 audits in a row, the Pentagon. In fact, the Pentagon got a raise, roughly $800 billion to $1 trillion. The only agency that hasn't passed an audit in the better part of a decade got rewarded, while every other agency got gutted, because they all regulate Elon, while the Pentagon's raise means that more money goes to Elon and his companies. Like, for example, the $22 billion in Pentagon contracts that he's already been rewarded. So I'm sorry if I don't seem especially grateful for Elon when he was responsible for gutting essential agencies that ensure that people can survive around the world, and firing thousands of veterans, and cutting essential research that's going to help kids with cancer, all so that he could eliminate the obstacles to his consolidation of more wealth. Thousands or millions of people will die so that Elon can get richer. This guy doesn't deserve praise. He's a fucking ghoul who represents the worst of humanity. He will be remembered for his insatiable greed and nothing more. So frankly, again, I don't give a shit what drugs Elon does. I think the world would be better off if he made ketamine his full-time job, but let's not pretend for a second that he's some white knight here. He is a greedy kleptocrat whose entire life boils down to stealing from the poor to pad his own bottom line. That's his legacy. He could have changed the world for the better, and instead, he made it markedly worse, and we should never forget that. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.